Admiral Cooper, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. It's more than 3 weeks now into the Operation Epic Fury. How do you describe what you've done so far and what have you achieved and was accomplished during this time?
Yeah, I believe that our achievements are obvious. If you zoom out and look at the situation, the Iranian Navy is no longer at sea. The Iranian Air Force is no longer flying. The air defense is no longer shooting. And the large salvos of drones and missiles that you saw at the beginning of the war have now largely degraded into onesies and twosies, one and two at this point. My overall assessment is that we are on plan to achieve our main military objectives.
Are you ahead of what you've scheduled before? Because that's what I've heard from President and Secretary Hexas, that you're ahead of what has been scheduled.
Yeah, we're largely ahead or on plan for our main military objectives. The principal objective is to prevent the Islamic Republic from being able to project power from its own borders to affect both Americans as well as regional partners. And we're focused on three principal military objectives: eliminating the ballistic missiles, eliminating drones, and sinking the Navy, as well as eliminating the manufacturing for each of those three areas. No more manufacturing of drones, no more manufacturing of missiles, and no more manufacturing for the Navy. And we are definitely on plan for all of that, and in some cases ahead.
And obviously, the operation still goes on. Why is that? If you achieve the objectives, so why is it still going? And for how long do you think this operation? I don't want you to give me an exact number or weeks or a timeline, but what do you imagine that this is gonna lead to?
Yeah, I would. This will ultimately be a decision by the President of the United States as to when to finish it. But as you mentioned, we are ahead of plan. We'll continue to degrade the capabilities in missiles, drones, and the Navy. As of today, for instance, we've sunk or severely damaged 140 ships. That effort will continue.
And Admiral, how Islamic Republic was fighting back in terms of launching lots of missiles and drones to Arab countries, Persian Gulf countries, to Israel, even to Cyprus. How were they doing that? Do they still, for instance, today or yesterday, I mean now, do they use launchers in west of Iran, or they now moved back to eastern sides of Iran? Can you give us more details about that?
Yeah, we have a very clear perspective of how this is going. And my overall operational assessment is they're operating in a sign of desperation. At the beginning of the conflict, you saw large volumes in the dozens of drones and missiles. You no longer see that. It's all one or two at a time. So that is dramatically shifted. And the desperation you've seen is they've shifted from military targets. In the last couple of weeks, they've attacked civilian targets very deliberately more than 300 times. 300 times.
Do they still have big arsenals of missiles? Because how they attacked Diego Garcia a few days ago with those missiles that nobody knew about. Do you think they have other arsenals like that you could not so far detect and target?
We're very aware of the capabilities, and I wouldn't want to get into the specifics. We're watching it very closely. Clearly, they've had to shift their strategy out of desperation from one where they're focused on mass and volleys to attack to one where they're only shooting one or two at a time.
And Admiral, about the Strait of Hormuz, it's a big tension there going on. What is your plan about opening the strait, and how a coalition, because now we are seeing more and more countries are joining this coalition. We had yesterday, I think now it's above more than 20 countries that are part of that coalition. How these other countries can help you? What are your plans to secure the shipping there?
Yeah, a couple of thoughts here. First, I think you've seen the president's comments in the last day. I don't have anything to add to that. But what I will say is the Strait of Hormuz is physically open to transit. The reason that ships are not transiting right now is because the Islamic Republic is shooting at them with drones and missiles. Our job, and consistent with our military objectives, is to decrease the Islamic Republic's Navy's ability to attack shipping, and we are getting after that every single day.
President Trump said that it's a very simple military maneuver to do that, to secure Hormuz. And he said that it's about volume, it's about a lot of ships. Can you explain more what he means, and how is that a very simple military maneuver?
Yeah, I think he described it very well, and that's why one of our objectives is to eliminate the threat from the Navy, to diminish that, to diminish the regime's capability to attack commercial shipping. We've been working on that since the very beginning. This is why we've sunk more than 140 ships, and it's something that we'll continue to do. In my own experience, I've transited through the Strait more than 50 times in my career. I'm very familiar with it, and I agree. It's straightforward what we're doing, eliminating the capability of the regime and we're essentially degrading the capability of the Navy to attack commercial shipping.
Admiral, you said that they are shooting missiles and drones, Islamic Republic. Can you detect those launchers, target those launchers? Is it easy for Islamic Republic to build, again, launchers, like launcher after launcher? Is it easy to build those?
Well, not only can we detect them, we have been detecting them, and we have been eliminating those threats in large volumes. And we're not just focused on the things that exist today, but we're also getting after the manufacturing. So it's not just about the threat today, we're eliminating the threat for the future, both in terms of the drones, the missiles, as well as the Navy.
And the Navy, they don't have any floating thing in Persian Gulf. Do they have anything at the moment?
There's no capability presently in the Gulf of Oman, around Hormuz, or in the Gulf.
And Israel is helping you in that mission, south of Iran, or no?
We're working in close cooperation throughout the country in those same military objectives.
And Admiral, going back to what President Trump wrote yesterday about the 48 hours, do you have any comments on that? And that's a concern for Iranian people.
Well, I don't have anything to add beyond his comments, but what I will say is we're very clearly focused on our objectives of eliminating those missiles, eliminating those drones, and then continuing to go after the Navy, which is directly related to the comments on Strait of Hormuz.
Admiral, this administration, from the beginning, there was a distinction between the government and the people, and that came from Secretary Rubio, and then President Trump was talking about that. This administration clearly distinguish people and the government. So that is why I'm talking about that deadline that President Trump put forward. And we are talking about infrastructures here and the worries that Iranian people have and the civilians, and if they are going to be fearful after these operations, if you are going to do anything about the power plants. I want you to describe to me what sort of measures you are taking to protect these people who are suffering under this government.
Yeah, let me talk about it kind of in two ways. Let me first talk about a message to the government and to the regime, and then a message to the people. For the government, they could stop this war right now, absolutely, if they chose to do so. For the regime, they could stop this war right now if they chose to do so. They haven't chosen to do so. My second message is they need to stop putting the wonderful Iranian people at risk by firing missiles and drones from inside populated areas. I've seen it with my own eyes. They continue to do this. They have no care for the people. They're threatening their own people. And the third point would be they need to stop immediately attacking civilians throughout the Middle East region. They've deliberately attacked and targeted 300 times. That needs to stop. So that's one side. For the Iranian people, the wonderful Iranian people who I've gotten to know over several years, including living in the region for many years, extraordinary culture, deep culture of thousands of years. My main message is this. First and foremost, we are attacking the regime in the Islamic Republic, not the wonderful people. The second piece is continue to heed our advice. We've had multiple messages that have come out that have said, beware. The government doesn't care about you. They're launching missiles and drones from populated areas. You need to stay inside for right now. Third, there will be a clear signal at some point, as the president has indicated, for you to be able to come out. And then the last thing I'd like everyone to know is I've watched this over the last week, this extraordinary contrast between the comfort and protection that you're seeing with the senior generals in the Islamic Republic, at least those that are still alive, who are up in deep bunkers in facilities in and around Tehran, and contrast that with the the soldiers who are down on the ground, who are unprotected. The generals are protected, the soldiers are not protected. I've watched this in Bushehr, Shiraz, Bandar Abbas, Abu Musa Island, Konarak, Jask, Chabahar, over and over again. I think this is a story that has to be told over and over again so that the people understand exactly what's happening. The generals are protected, the people are not. And I think this is an important point.
And these other nations, other countries, Arab countries, how are you working with them? That because they're under a lot of attacks, maybe like UAE is more than Israel even.
Yes.
What are they doing?
Yeah, we continue to stand shoulder to shoulder in what has been established as the largest umbrella of air defense in the Middle East history. For decades, people have written articles and books about what Middle East air defense could look like in an integrated way, and we're seeing it today, a very thick defensive umbrella that we've put around all the countries, and we're working very closely with everyone.
And that was created a few weeks before the Operation Epic Fury. I remember there was a statement from Department of War that this NATO sort of umbrella defense alliance is coming together because there was a talk about this during President Trump's first term. You're talking about
that,
the
capability has been in develop for many years, involving thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. And today, we see it very alive and active as a protection mechanism.
And how do you define Israel's role here in defending the Arab countries? Because we know some European countries are involved in defending those Arab countries. How do you define Israel's role here?
Well, to speak precisely, Israel is attacking drones and ballistic missiles that are aimed at Arab countries, and attacking and defeating them.
I want to ask you about the MEUs, the 11th and the 31st units that are, I don't know about 11th. There are rumors that they are coming to Middle East from San Diego, but we know maybe it's more a fact that the 31st unit is coming from Japan to Middle East. Can you say what is the purpose of these units and if they're going to go in?
Yeah, I won't talk specifically about what we're going to do operationally. What I will say is we're very focused on our military objectives, and we've seen very clearly that our capabilities continue to grow, our strength grows, and over the last 3 weeks, the Islamic Republic's capability have dramatically declined. And we'll see what happens here in the future.
So you mean maybe it's not needed to go in?
These are options that are being generated. Let's see what happens here in the end.
And other than Khark, which is a bit north of and away from Strait of Hormuz, are you thinking about other small islands like Kish, which is closer, Lark, they are closer to Hormuz? Are you considering those as well?
Yeah, as you would appreciate from my many years living in the region, I'm very familiar with where the options could be. And from an operational perspective, I just wouldn't want to talk about them here. But the options are on the table. And I think we'll just have to see where things go. In the meantime, we're just going to focus for now on our military objectives.
And Admiral, do you think in future there's going to be a change in how Strait of Hormuz is controlled?
Well, I'm confident that our efforts, and particularly focused on degrading the Iranian military, will set conditions for the future. And as you've seen in the news, you now see multinational and national organizations stepping up. So we'll have to see what that looks like. But I am confident.
Admiral, how your goals, the U.S. goals in this conflict and Israeli goal, how are they? Do they have overlapping? Are they the same? Are there any differences?
Yeah, I think in practical terms, in pragmatic terms, you see us conducting the same types of missions. We're eliminating the ballistic missile threat. We're eliminating the drone threat. We're eliminating the manufacturing so that the Islamic Republic cannot project power outside of its borders.
Is that going to change? Are you going to change the way you operate in? Because you're sharing, obviously, some part of the operation, taking out the missile arsenal factories, it's on U.S., and maybe targeting generals and commanders is on Israel. Yeah. Is that going to change in future?
I wouldn't want to tip what we're going to look like in the future, but right now we're just focused on the main military objectives.
And what is going to happen, in your opinion, that you're going to call that a good end? It's time to end it. What should happen?
This will be a decision by the President of the United States.
So as a commander, you cannot give us any detail.
Well, from my perspective, the president will have this final decision. In the near term, we're going to focus on our military objectives, and my assessment overall is that we are ahead of plan, that our combat power is increasing dramatically, and the Islamic Republic's combat power is decreasing dramatically.
Thank you so much, Admiral. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.